The international break is finally over and FPL will be resuming this week, and in today's video we're going to be going through my Game Week 4 team selection and giving you all the key data and stats you need to make the best decisions this game week. Now, before we head into the Game Week 4 team selection, of course, we have to look back to Game Week 3, which seems like a long time ago, so I don't want to spend too much on it. But unfortunately, it was a little bit of a disappointing week. Obviously, we don't have Erling Haaland. Everyone who's kind of been around the channel knows that isn't the case, and we also got the captaincy decision wrong last week as well. If we had captain Mohamed Salah, it wouldn't have been too much of a detrimental rank decrease for us. However, with us not captaining Mohamed Salah, it was around a 1.5 million rank drop, which isn't great. However, it still is early on and we can very easily recover this with a few good game weeks in mind. Obviously, we've had the international break to get the team ready, to get everything set up, and now I do have a new plan and I am going to share it with you guys in today's video. But first, let's go and take a look at some stats and data for you guys. Starting off, let's take a look at the Rob T FPL SpreadX data, of course, from the betting market, seeing where the best projected goals are and clean sheets just for this individual game week. As we can see, the big standouts this week are going to be Manchester City, Liverpool and Brighton. These are going to be the top teams that are projected to do quite well for both clean sheets and goals, so definitely be looking to obviously load up on some assets from these teams and maybe even also consider obviously captaincy with both Liverpool and Manchester City having decent projected goal numbers as well. Interestingly, both have got 46% chance of a clean sheet as well, so definitely worth looking at playing some of their defensive assets or maybe even bringing some of those in as well. In terms of other teams I would be maybe fancying this week, obviously Palace as well, pretty good numbers for them, so the likes of Eze, if you do have him, definitely worth some consideration going for him as well. I think it's interesting that Arsenal are fancied to score more goals and have a higher projected clean sheet odds as well. And then everybody else has kind of got okay-ish projected goal numbers, more for the away teams this week, with both Chelsea, Newcastle and Manchester United all doing fairly well in that department. Obviously, it's the good run of the Aston Villa fixtures, and as you can see, this is the first one on paper, and as we're seeing, pretty decent projected goal numbers as well. So the people that did go for Ollie Watkins, whether or not he's going to play is a different situation. However, if you do back him and he does quite well, I mean, the data is definitely suggesting that they're going to get a couple goals this week. Clean sheet odds as well are also pretty decent. However, I do imagine if that Konza news does break and it does look like a more serious longer term injury, then we might see that decrease closer to the deadline. Right, let's move on to some more longer term data. Of course, this is coming from 11ify. If you want to go and check out their amazing website, link in the description. Over the next 6 game weeks, for clean sheets, Manchester City atop. It is that run after match day 7 where they just face like literally bums, to be honest. 51, 46 and a 56% chance of a clean sheet. They're very good. Same goes for Arsenal as well. The next two are a little bit iffy, and obviously with some injuries and suspensions that are happening within their side as well, probably not worth investing until the game week 6 wildcard if you are on there, or obviously looking for free transfers as well, with back-to-back 57% clean sheet chances. The next 3 for Liverpool as well are really good, so the likes of Robertson and Trent definitely should be in your minds. The next 2 for Brighton as well, obviously people are looking at Lewis Dunk, could be a decent 4.5 million option, could also be a decent Konza replacement if the news does break that that injury is a little bit more serious than kind of feared, to be honest. In terms of teams we probably should be looking to avoid, obviously Wolves still down the bottom. They don't really have any decent fixtures. Definitely looking like worth hopping off both Fulham and Newcastle within the next few weeks as well, as those clean sheet odds are starting to dwindle over the next few weeks. Moving on to attacking data and projected goals over the next few weeks. City top. It is that game week 9 fixture against Southampton that is definitely dragging up this marker and obviously dragging up their total as well. It is also another opportunity for people to potentially go and triple captain Erling Haaland as well in that game week as well. Liverpool for the next 3, very similar to the clean sheets. It is a great set of fixtures, and I can 100% see why people are backing Mohamed Salah, Trent, Robertson, because the data is suggesting that they're going to do well over this period. Same goes for the match day 6 or game week 6 wildcarders that will be looking at the Arsenal assets. Good projected goal numbers, good clean sheet numbers as well. Aston Villa is quite a nice run both defensively and attacking attackingly. So, you know, if you have taken the gamble on Watkins, it potentially could pay off. I think Morgan Rogers, though, is the player that I would be looking to maybe go and get or hold for the next few weeks as well. Very similar with Nottingham Forest and Fulham. Again, their fixtures are starting to turn for both clean sheet and projected goal numbers as well. So I would be looking to start potentially selling up some of their assets rather than looking to invest in the likes of Robertson, Smith Rowe and Muniz for me. Finishing up, let's take a look at captaincy for this game week. Now, we are using Fantasy Football Hub's predicted points algorithm. For the past few weeks, it has had Erling Haaland top, but I think maybe the first game week, and it was suggesting Salah was going to be the better captain. I went with Salah. Both of them obviously scored the exact same in that game week anyway. Obviously, they're both on the same score right now after 3 game weeks as well. And for this game week, it is suggesting that Erling Haaland is going to be the best captaincy option for predicted points. Obviously, we saw as well with the Rob T FPL betting data, it does have Manchester City scoring slightly more projected goals for this week as well. And I think both of those factors combined would lead me, if I did have Erling Haaland, to say he is the best captaincy option for this game week. And if you've got him, it's a very easy captain for me in my opinion. Now, if you haven't got him, Mohamed Salah is a second best, and it's not by, you know, like a country mile either. It is quite close between the two. Again, looking back to those projected goal numbers as well from Rob T FPL and 11FI, both of them are extremely close for Manchester City and of course Liverpool this game week as well. So it could be another week where we do see both of these guys pop off and we see them do exceptionally well for their points. In terms of maybe going for a differential captain, maybe you don't own both of these players or you're just looking to go a little bit elsewhere, I think this week is probably not the one, with both City and of course Liverpool having decent fixtures this week. I don't think there's any need to go elsewhere if you do own one of these. However, some interesting picks as well on this list. Obviously, Eze against Leicester, again, very decent for projected goals. If you look at KDB's data that he's been putting up over the past few weeks, it has been pretty saucy, to be honest, so he could be a decent option. And then we've got Alexander Isak in there. Now, I know he's been having a little bit of a difficult time at the start of this season. However, if you've seen his interview that he did over the international break, the lad is ready to cook and ready to punish some owners as well against Wolves away, which is a great fixture. Statistically, they have been one of the worst teams so far this season, not in terms of just defensive numbers, but in terms of their overall play as well. And I do fancy Newcastle do quite well. However, for me, the top two captain options are going to be Mohamed Salah and Erling Haaland this week. I know it's a little bit boring. You're probably expecting something else. However, when the data and the fixtures are this good, sometimes it is just worth captaining the best players and hoping that other players, some of your differentials or maybe some of your lower owned players, can do the business to help you game rank. But let's go and move on to my team selection for game week 4. Right, wasting no time, let's dive into my team selection for game week 4. Starting off with our goalkeepers, Vladimirson is a backup 4 million, not expecting him to play. However, Dean Henderson has a pretty good fixture this week. Obviously, if we hark back to the Rob T FPL data for clean sheets, it is looking pretty good for Crystal Palace this week. Again, he is just a 4.5 million goalkeeper. I don't think personally any goalkeeper has kind of ripped it up so far this game, and I don't really expect that to change. People will just tick along very, very nicely, and hopefully Henderson, with the decent clean sheet data, can come away with a clean sheet this week. Moving on into the back line, and this is where we have made our transfer for this week. We've taken out William Saliba and we have bought in Trent Alexander-Arnold. Obviously, if we look to the 11FI data for the next 2 game weeks, we can see a dramatic dip off for Arsenal's clean sheet data, and then Liverpool's is a massive increase. So for me, I think it is worth making the move. Trent as well has 1.5 expected assists so far this season. His XG is pretty decent as well to go alongside that as well. I think with us wildcarding potentially in 6 or 7, he offers a great player to go and get. Now, the obvious concern is around his minutes. He has been kind of coming off around the 75th minute so far, and with Champions League starting this midweek as well, it potentially could pose a little bit of a longer term issue. However, with us having that wildcard in the back pocket and looking to use it in match day 6, I think this is just a really solid and decent pick. He's definitely due an attacking return. The clean sheet data as well is looking pretty fabulous for him, and I think it's just a great addition to go and get into the side, to be honest. Next up is going to be Pedro Porro. Now, it's not the best fixture on paper, is it? However, he has had the most shots amongst all defenders so far this season. So if he can get himself an attacking return, great, we're happy with it. The clean sheet odds aren't great, so I'm not overly expecting too much out of him. However, I would prefer playing him over both Harwood, Bellis and Kwanzaa, who probably isn't going to see any minutes this week. Then finishing up, it is going to be Gavardiol. Obviously, there's been some injuries within that City backline over the international break to Nathan Ake, which probably means that Gavardiol is probably going to play the next few, to be honest. I think as well, the clean sheet odds for this week are definitely looking pretty spectacular. So I'm quite happy just to hold him. At least he's playing. At least he's playing for a side as well that has a 46% probability of a clean sheet this week, according to Rob T FPL's data. So I'm very, very happy with that. Harwood, Bellis and Kwanzaa, they're there if we need them. However, Kwanzaa's probably not going to play and probably been one of the worst transfers I've brought in for the past few seasons. Right, let's move on into the midfield. We're going to start off with Saka. Obviously, you know, it's not the greatest fixture, Tottenham away. However, he has got a pretty decent record in this fixture. And if you look back, he was one of the highest scoring players in the projected points model just for this single game week as well. So despite the fixture not being great, the projected points model still has him scoring fairly decently as well. Like I said, he's got a kind of a history as well of scoring at Tottenham, so I'm pretty happy with this one. Next up is going to be Cole Palmer. Decent projected goal numbers for this one for Chelsea. Obviously, he did pick up that injury over the international break, however has already been pictured back training with the Chelsea team. Now we will have to wait and see on the press conference. If it is confirmed that he is out, then we will be hitting that wildcard button. However, right now it looks like with him being back in training, it was just one of those sneaky international injuries and he will be back and available, so there's no point in hitting that wildcard button just yet. Morgan Rogers is in here for this Aston Villa amazing run. Everton, Wolves, Ipswich, Manchester United, Fulham, Bournemouth. I do think he is a great enabler. Now I know he's not obviously got any attacking returns yet, and that is the big question mark that is kind of still looming over him. However, very easily could have picked up an assist last week. He put Ollie Watkins through on a plate. He didn't finish his opportunity, so maybe it's one of those. But I think for the price point, I think people are probably expecting a little bit too much from him. I think as long as he picks up maybe like 3 attacking returns over the next 6 game weeks, I'll be happy with that. We're paying 5.1 million for him. There's not going to be many other 5 or 5.1 million assets that are going to do very, very similar over that period of time. So you might as well take the good fixtures, take a player that is playing. I think the only concern with him is going to be Champions League and his minutes potentially going forward as well, with, like I said, that starting this midweek. Anthony Gordon remains for another week. Now, he's not been scintillating, but he looked really, really good for England on international duty. Hopefully he can carry that into the club season. I think we're going to keep him up until when we wildcard in matchday 6. Wolves and Fulham are the next 2. Both pretty leaky defences as well. I know it's not at home, and that's where he picked up a lot of his points last season. However, I still think they're pretty decent fixtures on paper and definitely worth keeping him in the side, to be honest. Then, of course, is going to be our captain, Mohamed Salah. Like we spoke about, he is the second highest player for projected points. We don't have Erling Haaland in the side, so Salah makes sense as the best captain for this game week as well. Has started the season on fire. Now, I don't expect that to continue every single week. He's not going to be able to match Erling Haaland, or at least, you know, both of these players are not going to be getting hat-tricks or 18 pointers every single week. That's not the way that football works. There will be points where they both dip off or pick up injuries and stuff like that. It's just going to happen. But for now, we're riding that train, and like I said, second best captaincy option. He's the best captaincy option in terms of predicted points for our team, so we're going to take it and we're going to give him the armband as well. Moving on to our forwards, we're keeping faith with Alexander Isak. He is one of the most sold assets this week. However, I feel, you know, that goal will have just given him some confidence. Had a pretty decent international break as well. Very similar to Anthony Gordon. If he can carry that into the club season and start of maybe kickstart Newcastle's season a little bit, I think it could be a splendid move by keeping him as well. And I think if you were looking to sell him this week, unless it's obviously to make moves to get Mohamed Salah in, who offers a decent captaincy option for the next week, I would say I would remain with Alexander Isak. That would be my personal advice on that one. Then finishing up is going to be Muniz. Now, again, this is a little bit of a regrettable one, isn't it? Like, he just hasn't delivered. He just hasn't. I know he's getting the opportunities, and I know he's creating plenty of, you know, big goal-scoring opportunities, but come on, Muniz, man. Just let's have a couple goals from you. Like, I was debating between him and Chris Wood, and obviously Chris Wood has gone on to score a couple goals, picking up quite a few bonus as well. So it has had a detrimental impact on the rank. We have got that 50-50 incorrect. However, the Fantasy Football Hub is still backing him to do exceptionally well. He is getting into the right positions. He is creating the chances, just not taking them. Hopefully that can change this week, though, with West Ham. However, again, I feel he'll probably remain in the team for next week with Nottingham Forest, and then he will be out of the side on the Game Week 6 wildcard, as we saw with the projected goal numbers for Fulham over the next few weeks from 11-5, it does start to dip off. So I feel if you're not on a wildcard 6, I would be looking to obviously start to offload my Robinsons, my Emil Smith-Rowes and my Munises over the next few weeks. That was my team selection ahead of Game Week 4. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments section below. And if you've got any questions about your team, get them in the chat, as we will try to answer as many as we possibly can. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in Game Week 4.